Apple has just killed the iPad Pro with the brand new M1 iPad Air. So how did they do that? Let's find out. Look, I am super excited. The Apple event ended not 5 seconds ago, and we saw some really incredible things start to come out. The thing that I am most excited about is the brand new M1 iPad Air. I really think that there is no real reason to buy the iPad Pro anymore because that extra cost doesn't really make any sense unless you need a few specific things. So today, let's go through what is in the brand new iPad Air and whether I would recommend you get one and how I would build it out and all of that stuff. So I love the iPad Air. You've seen my videos, you know I love it. So let's get right to it. Now I used the iPad mini to take my little notes here for today for the event. So let's just hop right into it. So obviously the big thing is they're including the M1 chip inside of the iPad Air. And I think this is incredible for one main reason. Yes, power's great and all that, right? The iPad Air is like the mid-range version of the iPad. It's not as budget as the standard iPad. It's not as high-end as the iPad Pro, but it keeps a very reasonable price. And because it's got a chip that's more powerful than a lot of computers these days, you're getting a ton of value for the money. They've also included the one thing that I really needed them to include for the iPad Air. They're giving us the 12 megapixel ultra wide front facing camera that we've seen in the iPad mini, the iPad Pro, and the Gen 9. With that center stage technology, I gotta like calm myself down because I'm so excited about this. This is gonna be the ultimate tablet. Bottom line of this video, the iPad Air is now the tablet to get. They're also going to include 5G, going to work with the Apple Pencil, and it's going to come in some gorgeous colors. Now, the one thing that I'm kind of concerned about, they also said last year with the iPad Air 4 that it was going to have incredible colors, and the colors always looked good on their website, and they look incredible here. But, you know, they kind of looked washed out and they were very metally. Like they didn't look great last year. So hopefully they're able to re-engineer their materials division and make it look real good. Because I think this blue one right here, can you see that teal? That's the one I'm getting because it looks incredible. All screen design, beauty all around. So they're continuing to give us the 10.9 inch liquid retina display from last year's model. Now, one of the things that I am kind of disappointed on is we're not getting a bump in the display technology, but you got to imagine that a lot of this you're not going to get in the iPad Air because the production budget, like the component level budget of that tablet, doesn't support that kind of technology. Display technology, especially that high-end Pro Motion, it's not cheap, and they're already giving us the M1 processor, so you got to save some money somewhere, right? And I think we'll get to the processor here in a second, but I really think that's a smart decision on Apple's part. The display will still give us True Tone, P3 wide color, and they're going to include an anti-reflective coating. Pretty sweet stuff. Touch ID is going to continue to be built into the top of the iPad, much like the iPad mini. I appreciate that they have it. I would have liked to have seen Face ID just become standard across the board if we're not going to have Touch ID like built into the front of the display itself. So Touch ID, it's great. I'm glad that it's there. I've still found it kind of finicky to work using the lock button as the touch home screen. It's not the best workflow that I've ever seen. So we'll have to see if they've maybe improved it through algorithms, maybe through some processing power. Now that they've got a lot more oomph going from the A14 chip to the M1 chip, they probably have a little more power to make that a little smoother and faster. So I am very excited to see that. You'll see we still get the landscape stereo speakers. Now that we're here, if you don't know what the M1 processor is, say maybe you're just a tablet person, you don't pay attention to what Apple does with their processors. The M1 is the chip that Apple released last year with their MacBook Air and their MacBook Pro 13. It's a shockingly good processor, even for laptops, especially for a tablet. It's an 8-core CPU. This will have an 8-core GPU, or it could have a 7-core. They didn't tell us which version that we're going to get. I imagine because the M1 iPad Pro got the 8-core GPU version that we'll get that same one in the iPad Air. But this processor is fast. But it's not only that it's fast, it's incredibly efficient. You can see that it will provide 60% faster performance than previous generations. This will have more power. No kidding. This will have more power than most productivity laptops on the market. The M1 chip cannot be overstated for how powerful and how efficient it is. You've seen all the videos that I've made about the MacBook Air. The MacBook Air is that good. It's that cool and that thermally efficient because of how good the M1 is. Getting the M1 in such a small tablet, I hope they've got the thermals down because that will, if they can handle the thermals in that, it's going to be incredible. It's going to be able to multitask great. It's going to be able to run everything super seamlessly. If you are a content creator, it's going to be great. It's going to work about as well as an iPad Pro or as well as a MacBook. Like, It's going to be crazy. You can play AAA games. I believe that. A lot of tablets that use mobile processors like this has the A15 and it works great. You've seen me play games on this. But I believe that you could play AAA games, at least a tablet version of a AAA game. Okay, 8-core GPU. Okay, so we are getting the version with the 8-core GPU. So it's the best version of the M1 that you can get, and you're going to get it on the iPad Air. It's got a 16-core neural engine that will accelerate machine learning, which will do really good things for you when that live text mode, if you use that a lot, if you use Photoshop's intelligent modes. But the big thing for me, the thing that I've been complaining about on the iPad Air since the iPad mini came out and the iPad Gen 9, these have an ultra-wide angle camera in them that is the best conferencing tool I've ever seen. And now it's coming to the iPad Air. Now, I wish Apple had done a slight redesign of the body and put that right here at the top where most people will need it. But having the ultra wide angle camera fixes the main complaint that I had about the iPad Air. I'm sorry, Mini, but unless like the Mini just got a lot tougher of a spot and the iPad Gen 9 just got put in a lot tougher of a spot because one of its real selling points was getting that camera. So it's going to be tough on that getting forward. I love that camera. No kidding. And center stage, you've seen, it's not an actual zoom and it's not actually following you around, but because of how wide the angle is and because of how good the image looks with new image signal processor from the M1 chip, it'll be able to digitally follow you around by smart cropping around the image. That's really good stuff. It's almost like having a camera person built into your tablet. And because it's a good tablet, it'll also still work with the 2nd generation Apple Pencil, which you'll have to buy separately. And now it'll have 5G wireless networks. Team, I cannot get over how excited I am. Wi-Fi 6, 5G connection. This thing's going to be fast, not only because of the internal processors, but it's going to be fast because it's going to be able to connect with everything else. Now, one of the things, okay, we talked about the Pencil already. It can work because it will have the smart connector. It will work with the smart folio keyboard, but also my favorite, the Magic Keyboard, which is the best accessory ever made for a piece of consumer technology. But one of the things, now the iPad Pro does have a USB-C Thunderbolt connection in the bottom. The iPad Air will not have a Thunderbolt connection, but they say it will have a faster version of USB-C. Now, they didn't tell us if it's going to be USB 3.2, something like that, but they do say it's going to be 2 times faster for transferring speeds. So if you are a content creator using your iPad Air for that, it'll be able to transfer files much faster. Hopefully, they will start working more on their file transfer system, so it's worth all of that extra speed, right? iPad OS, we're going to continue getting the best of iPad OS. Tons of apps, okay, so that's all of the main new features of it. Let's check the tech specs real quick and see if I missed anything before we dive into what I would recommend and how I would build this. Okay, you can see the new colors. We got space gray, starlight, pink, purple, and blue. That blue, I like that starlight. I have it on my iPhone 13 mini. It's really good, but that blue looks fantastic. And here's the biggest thing that I do not like about the brand new iPad Air. I was really hoping they would fix this year. You can see here, can you see that? The capacity, it's the same as last year. So 64 gigabytes of storage for the base model, 256 gigabytes for the big model. That sucks. Everything else that's great about this is great, but is really hampered here. 64 gigabytes in 2022. I made a joke about that in a video, a couple of days ago, saying that like my SD cards have more space than that. I don't think you need a lot of space for a tablet, but you need some space, especially if you're going to be doing content creation or if you're going to be doing AAA games. Those games aren't small. You need some space. I wish they had gone with 128 gigabytes and 1 terabyte. It's like 64 gigabytes is too low and 256 gigabytes is too low for a power user. So there's not really a good storage option. I still think this is going to be a fantastic tablet and I can't wait to buy it, but the storage is letting me down quite a bit. Okay, 1.02 pounds. Nothing changed to the physical design. The connector, 20-watt USB-C power adapter will come with it. We talked about the display. It's pretty much the same display, 500 nits of brightness. Should be pretty good stuff. Liquid Retina panel. Apple M1 chip. It's going to be wild. Apple M1 with 8 gigabytes of RAM. That is a powerful tablet. Like, what other tablet are you going to be able to get to do that? 4K video recording up to 60 frames per second. 1080p slow motion up to 240 frames per second. Do they tell us about the connection? Cellular, we talked about. SIM card location, sensors, Touch ID, Siri, charging expansion. Okay, USB 3.1 Gen 2, so that's how they get the 2 times faster from last year. Supports full native resolution on the built-in display at 1,000,000 colors. So it supports 1 external display up to 6K resolution. Now we'll have to see, maybe there's something new they're doing with iPad OS with the new version of the iPad Air. Maybe we will then get full screen resolution. But when they say full native resolution, They mean full iPad native resolution, which is 4:3, which is not what most standard, I'm pointing at my big TV monitor that I use for these videos. They're not talking about that, so you'll still probably get the cropped bars. You'll still probably get a little bit less functionality, which is kind of disappointing because what Samsung has with their DeX is incredible, and I'd like to see Apple kind of do that too. Now, pricing is the best part of this tablet. The base model 64 gigabytes will come in at $599. Now, that's not cheap, especially if you consider tablets a nice to have, which I do. I don't consider tablets essential like a computer that you use for work or your phone or something like that. So $599 is not cheap, but it's also fantastically priced compared to everything else in the tablet market space, especially for the processor, all the connectivity you're going to get. This is going to be the thing to beat. Like, team, I'm telling you, I am excited to get this in because it's going to be great. You can also get 256 gigabyte up to $749, and you can get Wi-Fi or the Wi-Fi plus cellular, and it looks like that cellular is going to cost us about $150 extra. And yeah, because it's going to be 5G. Okay, I can see that. So if you were to take this all the way to the top of 256 gigabytes and this 5G connection, it's going to be $899, but I wouldn't recommend that. Part of the reason why you are buying the iPad Air instead of the iPad Pro is to save money. So I'm going to say go base model, $599. That's going to be the best value and what I would recommend for the brand new M1 iPad Air. I am so excited to get this in. I cannot wait to get one and start sharing it with you. But what about you? When we get one in, what would you like to see content-wise about this? Let me know in the comments below because I want to be able to create the content that you all want to see. And if you like this video and you do want an iPad today, or maybe you want the smaller iPad, you can find my video talking about 6 months later with the iPad mini by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.